Hello, hello. Hello. This is one person. How you doing? Might be my bush watcher. Thank you for coming. Hello, hello. Hello, my two people. Right. Hello. Well, thank you for coming. I'm laying out comfortable. I had trouble with my phone battery was dead, and I was catching hell trying to. I don't know what was wrong with my computer. The webcam gave me the blues. I didn't think I was gonna make it, but it finally. I guess I did something right. Okay. Give it a little more time. This webcam camera is not really clear like my phone, but I guess I can't complain because my phone battery is dead. This is it. Well, I got one person here. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and start reading my first story, even though I have one person here. That's good enough for me. Oh, but um, I'm reading from this book. It's called Torch. It's uh, it's stories of 26 um, ovarian cancer survivors. Some of them have passed on, and some is still alive. Uh, as I said, my wife passed away in 2014. This story is called An Intimate Shout. My story is different from that of most ovarian cancer patients, in that mine did not start as a whisper, but a loud shout. Luckily, I was listening. It was August 2006, and I was 4 months from my 50th birthday when the acute symptoms began. The previous 2 years had been plagued with a cycle of continuous stressful events, including the sudden, unexpected death of my mother and the journey of our youngest daughter. The stresses accumulated in a traumatic event 1 month prior to my diagnosis. I had just returned from a long road trip involving this event when I first noticed a distant heaviness in my pelvic area. It felt like a large object was resting there. I chalked it up to stress and was certain that it would pass as I got settled back into my reality. It did not pass. In fact, it got worse. The most acute symptoms was pain during intercourse, stabbing pain. It was not a blow it off type of pain. The only other symptom I experienced was some discomfort with bowel movements, sharp twangs. Neither of these symptoms are classic or telltale signs for ovarian cancer. But my husband urged me to see my gynecologist as his index of suspicion was high that something would be found to explain this pain. Of course, we never expected an ovarian cancer. His urging was significant because this was the first time in our 28 years of marriage that he had been concerned with a symptom of mine. I have always been cancer phobic because of my dad's dying of bladder cancer at the age of 49, which just happened to be my age. Therefore, at any ache, pain, or hangnail, I would suspect cancer. My husband felt this was different and that I was not overacting. Within 2 weeks of the onset of pain, I had an appointment with my gynecologist of 18 years. Based on my intuition, I asked my father to accompany me on this visit, and he agreed. The first thing my doctor said upon hearing my story was, "You have never complained of this before." He proceeded to do a pelvic exam. Because of our long doctor patient relationship, I could tell immediately by the tone of his voice and the look on his face that the exam was concerning. He said he felt a large mass on my right ovary and wanted to take me back for a sonogram. Upon hearing, let's see, upon hearing this, my cancer phobia kicked in and I felt very faint. He called for my husband and we went back to the sonogram room. The sonogram showed a 13 centimeter complex mass on my right ovary, consisting of fluid filled and solid components. I had just had my annual pelvic exam 3 months earlier and nothing was found. So this was quite alarming. Unlike many ovarian cancer stories of being misdiagnosed, sometimes by more than one doctor, my doctor was on it from the onset to rule out ovarian cancer. I will be forever grateful to him for this. A CA 125 was drawn, and my doctor outlined the possibilities of this mass as well as surgical options. His surgery day was the next day, September the 7th, 2006, and I chose to go ahead and let him take a look through the like this laparax laparoscope, some scope, the little scope they go down off in you. It appeared to be an intro introdometry, something like that. Large field. It was a large blood filled cyst, but was too large to remove with the scope. Thank God. He proceeded to a lapar laptomom, something like that. Since the pathology report came back inconclusive, a complete hysterectomy and complete staging procedure was done. I am most thankful for this. Otherwise, I would have never known my stage or would have needed a second surgery for staging. My doctor and the general surgeon, after exploration, still felt there was no signs of cancer because of what they saw and did not see, as well as other pathology, and that's the washing of the nodes. Reports came back clean. A week later, September 15, 2006, I was given the final diagnosis of stage 1A, grade 2 intradometric, or these some big old words, okay, of the ovary. My doctor said I was what they call a surgical cure, but he wanted me to visit the oncologist to see what, if anything, they recommended for my stage upgrade. Upon hearing this diagnosis, I was both scared that my worst fear, cancer, had been confirmed, but grateful that it had been found at an early stage. My doctor used the word blessed to get an early stage ovarian cancer diagnosis. My doctor used the word, oh, that's the same sentence. Okay. This is this was my first real inclination that early stage ovarian cancer was not commonplace. I visited the oncologist and the different of expert opinions began regarding further treatment. My stage grade was uncommon enough that the opinion varied on if chemotherapy was necessary and the number of cycles. There was agreement that had I been a stage 1A, grade 1, I would just be followed with CA 125 and no chemo would have been recommended because there were no clear cut protocol for my situation. My oncologist arranged for me to get a second opinion at MD Anderson, where he had trained. During this time, I continued to do my own research. I visited MD Anderson, taking my medical records and pathology slides. The physicians there confirmed that I had been properly staged and agreed with the pathology findings, with one exception. They added that part of my tumor was low. Um, it was potential, always LPM. I know what that is, for which chemotherapy was not necessary. This is a positive finding, but further confused the chemo decision. MD Anderson ultimately recommended the most aggressive course of 6 cycles of chemo to cover any occult microscopic disease. My thought was that a low potential tumor is a stage 0. So averaging that with a stage 2 should make me a stage 1. But they explain that they have to treat the most aggressive stage, even if it was only a small portion of my tumor. I was desperately trying to find a way to avoid chemo. They admitted that they did not have enough stage 1, grade 2 patients to treat or follow. Therefore, the most aggressive treatment was an insurance policy. This disease is so deadly that even a world renowned cancer center did not have any studies involving early stage ovarian cancer. Okay. This was my second inclination that this disease was a beast, and I must try to become an advocate at my earliest opportunity. I left there relieved my prognosis was favorable, but the burden of chemo was mine. I had to balance the risk of poisoning myself unnecessarily and the possibility of long term side effects versus the mental security of doing something that might help. I decided I had to be able to sleep at night and chose the insurance policy. I committed to 3 cycles initially. A day did not pass that I did not wrestle with the number of chemotherapy cycles to complete. With that said, I completed 5 cycles and felt that brought peace of mind. I tolerated the chemotherapy much better than I expected or remembered. When my dad had it 26 years ago, my first cycle was by far my hardest as I learned the do's and don'ts to better tolerate future cycles. Being the avid exercises that I am, the first week of each cycle kept me homebound, which was particularly hard for someone who does not even like to watch TV. My senses were very foggy, and I would not have been safe behind the wheel of a car. I relied on my trusty treadmill during this first week for light walks and slow runs. Even on my worst days, exercise was a godsend. By the second week, I was back to my routine of daily morning runs and weights. I fit right in with all the other shaved heads at the health club and even had the steroids on board legally. The hair loss was not nearly as disconcerting as I had expected. Thinking of losing my hair was much worse than being bald. I felt that was the first thing to check off in my road to recovery. I picked out a wig to match my style and color before I lost my hair. Little did I know that I would never desire long hair again, as it took a cancer diagnosis to get my best hairstyle. Nor did I know that I was not a wig person, maybe wearing it a handful of times, not being a makeup person. I had a learning curve on creating fake eyebrows. I got so good that my friend asked me to do hers for her wedding. The ironies that emerged along this journey. God gave me the gift of laughter as a way to cope. Many things became very humorous during my treatments, from flipping my chemo recliner upside down to the dreaded enema associated with chemo induced constipation. My daughter asks, is an enema a tool or a medication? This question found us laughing hysterically in the pharmacy. Within minutes, everyone around us was laughing hysterically. I always seemed to find a way to laugh, and it became infectious to those around me. It helped carry me through some of my lowest times. There are tears, but I chose laughter at every opportunity. I do not know which was more challenging, sudden menopause or chemo. In particular, the night sweats were very daunting and occurred at the same time as chemo. I could not find any humor in this situation. It was just a miserable existence that I had to get through. Completing chemo and being out of treatment was much harder for me emotionally than being in active treatments. This emotional aspect was very unexpected, but I have come to learn that it is a very common feeling among survivors. I felt my security net had been pulled, as action seemed to bring more security than inaction. The fear of recurrence is ever present. Any little ache or pain can elicit this fear. I feel, as does every ovarian cancer survivor, that the CA 125 one little blood test can put the fear of God in you. My hand will shake, when I call for my results. My CA 125 was 152 prior to surgery and had remained stable around 10 since surgery. I have just gone to every 6-month checkups. Thankfully, I have been cancer free since September 2006. My husband, who's a physician, became very worried and fatigued of my daily concerns and internet information. Each day I had a stack of new articles for him to review. It was only after he said, I just want to be your husband and not your at home doctor, that I realized what a burden this was in our relationship. With my husband, a physician, and myself, a nurse, I found that medical knowledge was a mixed bag. I believe sometimes ignorance is bliss. Equally hard for the frustration with people who would not acknowledge the C word. My cancer diagnosis generated unexpected surprises and disappointments from close friends and relatives to perfect strangers, giving me a new perspective on life. Some of those closest seemed to disappear, and those least expected stepped up. My closest seemed to disappear, and those expect. Oh, stepped up. I said that already. My closest friend since childhood was a 10-year ovarian cancer survivor. So she was a strong support for me. Much credit, much credit goes to my wonderful husband and two beautiful daughters who were there every step of the journey, giving me motivation and inspiration. Past worries seem so irrelevant now. I used to assume and take many things for granted. Today, I am immensely grateful for the chance to use this adversity for self examination on what's really important, discarding the superficial rubbish and trivial pursuit. What emerged was a strengthened faith and truly knowing that I am not in control. With newfound gratitude on every level, deep personal relationships are valued more than before. Having my worst fear, cancer, actually become a reality has given me the confidence to face it, survive it, and thrive as a result of it. Most people's worst fears never actually happen to them. So I view this as an odd gift. Only those given a cancer diagnosis can truly appreciate how life changing it is on a daily basis. I discovered a wonderful ovarian cancer support group at Baylor through my training to become a volunteer. I have never been a joiner of groups, so becoming a sorority sister was a first for me. I know none of us would have chosen to be a member, but we are so thankful for our sisters in this journey. You would never know these remarkable women are battling and living with cancer. They have taught me so much about how to live your life every day despite the odds. Meeting these women has been one of the silver linings of my diagnosis. Having four close friends with ovarian cancer, I have vowed I have vowed to try to make a difference. I have helped a passion for ovarian cancer causes on multiple fronts. I speak to third year medical students and residents at the University of Texas Southwestern Medical Center about the symptoms and early detection of ovarian cancer. I am I am actively involved in both local and national organizations for ovarian cancer. My most rewarding way to make a difference is visiting gynecology oncology patients at Baylor on a weekly basis, both those newly diagnosed and those with reoccurrences. This has been very rewarding, but reinforce the reality of ovarian cancer being a disease of late stage diagnosis, frequently misdiagnosed initially. With ovarian cancer, unlike breast cancer, the statistics are such that there are not enough women alive after 5 years to champion the cause. Without a screening test, it is up to the patient and the physician to detect ovarian cancer at its earliest, most treatable stage. Think of breast cancer without a mammogram, not to mention that you cannot do self exams on your ovaries. Therefore, I feel I have been given the opportunity to break the silence. No longer seeing the glass as half empty, I am shouting, are you listening to both women and their physicians? My outcome would have been much different had my doctor and I not acted promptly upon hearing the loud shout. And this was written by Lisa Rapp. And Lisa is still alive. Yeah, she's living as a survivor of the breast cancer. I mean, not breast cancer, ovarian cancer. Alrighty. And one. See if I can find a short. Well, thank you, one person, for being here. Thank you very much. I don't want to bore you. Okay. I'll give what the short one. Maybe this one. I like to get the ones that at least tell you their symptoms, all of their symptoms that they go through, because everybody's symptoms are somewhat alike. But just the one I just read, her symptoms was like very much different, and her being able to catch her cancer uh, at stage one, or actually, I don't think it was really a stage, but that was that was good because they got rid of her cancer. So most women do not um, catch their cancer at stage one. Uh, this story is called A Short Trip, A Long Journey. I'm glad I failed. When I came back from lunch one day in May 2006, the regular work parking lot was full. I parked in the unfamiliar overflow lot, tripped on the curb, and landed flat on my stomach on the cement. It should have been that time of the month, but I felt as though I was in permanent PMS mode. I had no symptoms before falling on the cement. A week or so later, I went to my gynecologist for my annual checkup. I told her about my fall and told her I was late with my period. Felt a little bloated and seemed stuck in PMS mode. She examined me and said she was going to send me for a sonogram just to make sure everything was okay. I made the appointment for the sonogram, and a couple of days later, that time of the month came. I thought I really did not need to get that sonogram now, but I had a mammogram appointment at the same place on the same day, so I decided I might as well get the sonogram while I was here. I had a sonogram on June the 8th, 2006. The technician said there was something going on with my right ovary and also gave me a transvaginal ultrasound. The technician said my gynecologist would call me with the results of the test. I no sooner got back to work than my gynecologist called me and asked if I could come into her office in an hour. When I got there, she told me I needed a hysterectomy, but first she wanted to do a CA125 test. She said that only the worst kind of things showed up on this test. My CA125 number came back at 1,239, and normal, the normal range for CA125 from 0 to 35 is in the normal range. You good. No cancer. Anything from 36 up, ovarian cancer. Okay. My gynecologist said that since my CA 125 number came back so high, I needed a oncologist to perform my hysterectomy. So on June 30th, 2006, I had a hysterectomy. A grapefruit sized cancerous tumor was removed, and I found out that I had stage 3 ovarian cancer. I started the standard 6 round of Toxin and carboplatin chemotherapy in July 2006 and responded very well. My tumor marker was in normal range after 3 treatments and continued to go down with each treatment. I was in remission. When I went back for my checkup in February 2007, my tumor marker was normal and the CT scan showed no sign of cancer. My May 2007 CA125 number was 171. Evidently, microscopic cancer cells remained and started to grow after chemotherapy treatments. I have been on continuous chemotherapy ever since. My husband died of a massive heart attack when he was 41, and my only child, a son, has had 2 heart attacks and a stroke before the age of 35. Oof, goodness. My friends and coworkers have been so supportive. After my surgery, I stayed with one friend for 2 weeks and a coworker for another 2 weeks. Every Wednesday, my chemotherapy day, our entire office of 20 people wear their teal t-shirts which says, "We support Pam." The A is in the shape of a ribbon on the front, and where there is love, there is hope. There, okay. Where there is love, there is life, hope, faith, strength, and support on the back. My coworkers even got me a shirt that has "I'm a survivor" on the front and has the same words as their t-shirts on the back. I have earrings with a teal ribbon inside, a teal bracelet, and several guardian angels. Another friend gave me a pottery that has the teal ovarian cancer ribbon on it. She is also she is also writing a song. I feel so blessed for every day I am here. And this was written by Pam Dennis. And I'm not sure if Pam is still with us or not. And those are my 2 stories. I appreciate you, one person that came to listen to my reading. And I guess I will not hold you, but at least as I said last night, I always want to, come on. And I know it's late, but I was having trouble with my phone battery was dead. I was having problems getting the laptop uh, webcam so I could record it. But I do appreciate you, and I won't hold you. But I'm glad you was here to hear that story. It's that story is definitely the 2 stories. Those 2 stories are definitely different. Their symptoms are way different than the other ladies. I don't know. Is this your first time or not? But hopefully, if it is, if you missed it, go back and do the replays, especially if you haven't heard some of the other symptoms. And like I said, I do this. I try to read, come on and read their stories, a couple, two or three, whatever, uh, just to get it out there about ovarian cancer. And I always try to make sure I tell people the women, not men, but the name of the test, the blood test, which you heard it was called the CA-125. It's a blood test. That's how you determine if you have ovarian cancer, not by your Pap smear. Pap smear will not pick up ovarian cancer. So um, for all of us that thought that it would, it will not. Um, and then they have a test for breast cancer. That's called it's BRCA2. That's the blood test for breast cancer. Ovarian cancer is CA-125. It is two is a blood test. Your gynecologist is the only one that can give you that test. And um, the symptoms, if you happen to have any of the symptoms, um, then your doctor, you sometimes you may have to be a little pushy to those doctors. But normally, if you have some symptoms, hopefully you have those symptoms way early and not have them when you're already at stage 3C or stage 4, because that's the difference between life and death, living and dying. As soon as you can catch it. But as you heard, it may help if I don't know if you've been here when I read the other stories that there women are normally misdiagnosed just about all the time, and that's why so many women die from ovarian cancer, because it's easy for them to be misdiagnosed with their symptoms, which is pain in the stomach. They also, let me see, my wife had um, her stomach was bloated, like I mean bloated that it gets to the point they look like they're pregnant. Gas. What else do they have? Let's see. One woman said she had a persistent cough. I think it was in that first story. That's the first time I heard of that symptom, her persistent cough, and the irregular menstrual cycle is one of the symptoms also. And usually, when the doctors misdiagnose you for ovarian cancer, they, because of the symptoms or have something to do with your stomach, you get constipated or diarrhea. So they normally misdiagnose you and tell you you have indigestion, a gas, and they give you like Prolasac, I think it's Prolasac, the purple pill for indigestion, um, and and it ended up being that you had ovarian cancer. So for how many ever months that you go on until you get back to the doctor, that is that's what the difference is between living and dying. Is all that time that's wasted being diagnosed with gas or indigestion, or they even told my wife that She, she was pregnant. It just it's crazy, but yeah, they misdiagnosed, and then you end up being um, in stage 3C or stage 4, which they told her she had 3 months to live when she was diagnosed at stage 4. Um, but she lived for 7 years instead of 3 months, and that was because she fought a good fight. She fought a good fight. Yeah. So I think that's make sure because I try every time I do my reading, I try to give the name of both of those tests, the symptoms, and yeah, just so um, it's the information is out there. You can get the information, you can pass it on, or just at least it'll save some woman's life. Definitely. Right. Well, like I said, I won't hold y'all. I appreciate y'all. Uh, you two. There's two of you now, and I hate the second person didn't get in to hear the reading, but you can always just do the replays, okay? Because I have I want to say about 4 or 5 replays from these books. They're called Torch. Make sure I got it. Yeah, you can see it. It's called Torch. And the acronyms for Torch is Tales of Remarkable Courage and Hope. Here's the second book. Each one of these books has 20, 26 uh, ovarian cancer survivors. Some of the ladies are still here, are still alive, and quite a few of them have passed away. Like I said, my wife passed away in 2014 with ovarian cancer, and I don't know. Let me see. That's my. I think they were describing the teal. That's the teal, and that's the pink is the breast cancer, and the teal is for ovarian cancer. And then I have one on this arm too. This one says hope. The other one says faith. Has the ovarian, the teal, and the pink for breast cancer and ovarian cancer. So yeah. So all right. Well, I thank y'all very much. I appreciate it, and please do the check out the replays whenever you have time, and check out some of those and hear some of those stories, and you will hear some of their symptoms. Most of them are the same, but some of them also do have some symptoms that are different than other ladies, but they do. I appreciate y'all listening and coming. And for my other person, you hit that thumbs up. Um, I appreciate it very much. And I will see y'all on tomorrow if y'all come. If was it tomorrow? Today, Sunday. Um, I'll be I'll be reading some more stories, and hopefully y'all get a chance to hear those. If not, hit those replays, and I am out of here.